tell you about strumming. So strumming and rhythm on guitar are really, really important. It's what makes a song sound like that song. If I play this chord, it could be any one of tons of different songs. But if I play this, now you might recognise that it's from a certain song. So rhythm is really, really important. We need to know how to understand rhythm and how to play rhythms accurately. So with guitar, there's kind of two parts to that, and I'm going to go into both parts and then I'm going to show you how you can develop rhythm. So when I first went to music college, I had never played really in ensembles. I had very poor rhythm. I was completely flummoxed by playing the drum kit, but I was able to develop a much better sense of rhythm to confidently play by myself and with other people, and you're going to be able to do that too. So essentially, there's the two parts I was referring to is how you can understand written rhythms in order to be able to play them, and how you're thinking about strumming and rhythm as a whole. So the essential, most fundamental thing to keep in mind when you're thinking about strumming is that for any given rhythm, your arm is like a metronome. So let's say that we're going to talk about songs that are in 4/4, which means that each bar has a count of 4. Your arm is moving down every beat. Every beat is like a count. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 beats. So if I just unmute the strings for now, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this may seem like it's obvious, but it gets a bit more complicated in a second. So you can see that every time I bring my arm down in time with that beat, it has to come up again in order to go down for the next downstroke. So your arm is always moving like that, down and up, which means that for every single count of 4, there's 4 down movements and 4 up movements, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the rhythm that we hear depends which of those down and up movements makes contact with the string. So if I want this kind of a rhythm, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and theoretically I could be doing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, or I could be doing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. In the first example, I was only doing downstrokes, and because 1 was longer and 2 was shorter, there's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. In the second example, I was in 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So I was keeping my arm moving at a consistent rate, and the only thing that changed was that I was hitting some of the upstrokes. So we always want to think in terms of the second one of those, because if I'm trying to do the first one, my arm is moving at a different speed. There's like a long one and 2 short ones, and a long one and 2 short ones. And if I've got a drummer or I'm able to count, probably I might be able to stay in time, but it's going to be more difficult and more vague than if this is just consistently moving like this. When you practice in the way that I'm going to show you, this becomes very automatic, becomes very reliable, very consistent. You're going to be able to add singing on the top. You're going to be able to know where you are in a chord progression. Even if you make a little fluff, you'll be able to jump back in at the right point. So this constant down and up movement is really what we want. So now you can see that if I can play lots of different types of rhythms, and if you ignore the fact, if you ignore the sound, you wouldn't really be able to tell just by looking which one I'm playing, because my arm is moving consistently all the time. So a really good way to do this is to take a song that to kind of practice getting your arm moving like that, is to take a song that doesn't go terribly fast, practice getting your foot synced up with a beat of the song, so that's just the place in the song where you would tap your foot. Most people find they can identify that quite easily. So you can have a drum, it's typically where the drum beat is. Or you can use a metronome or one of the drum tracks that we have available for students here. And you're just going to work on getting your foot going, then syncing up your arm with your foot, so the arm is moving down at the same time as your foot. And then when that's comfortable, just add in the downstroke. When you get used to doing this to songs at different speeds, you can pick a faster one. Mr. Blue Sky is a pretty good example of a fast one that has a lot of downstrokes. Can take a little bit of time if you're just starting out to build up that without going. So don't worry if you do this and you find that it's okay and then it kind of like goes out of sync with the beat. That's completely normal. You just want to train yourself over time to be able to do it, and it'll become effortless. So that's kind of on a practical level how you want to think about strumming. Your right arm is like a metronome, and it's always moving up and down. And then the notation of the song, or the other, strumming pan exists to tell you which of those downs and ups you're going to hit. And the reason that this is really important is that without accurate rhythm, you are not going to be able to make songs sound convincing. So if I play this, sounds like a piece of music. If I play this, even though I'm playing the exact same chords, because the rhythm's all over the place, we don't get the sense of it being a kind of chord progression or a musical texture, and it would be very hard for me to play that with anyone else. So this is really, 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 really important. It's probably the most important musical element. You can get away with a lot of fluff notes and chords if you stay in time. So even if you're nervous about rhythm, or you think that you don't have a very strong sense of rhythm right now, it's absolutely something you're going to be able to develop, and something that's worth you kind of thinking about. So that concludes part 1 of rhythm and strumming. If you're new to guitar, what you need to do now is follow up on that advice about listening to different songs and different drum tracks, tapping your foot with the beat, getting your arm moving with the beat, and then just adding those downstrokes. And this is training you to hear an external source of rhythm and to sync up your arm with it, which doesn't necessarily come naturally. So that is a really good first step. What we're going to do in part 2, and you can move on to that if this is something that you're already quite proficient with and that you have got well understood, is to see how some of those rhythms are written down and how to practice being able to read them and why that's helpful.